Hi, everyone. So I have two Buffalo Trace products at my bar that are nearing the end. First off, in the Jeff of All Trades decanter, where we would keep what you call our house bourbon, something relatively inexpensive that I'm not going to care if air gets into it or something like that. I have the Benchmark Top Floor, which is 86 proof and, roughly a $17, $18 bottle in New Jersey. And then here I have the Buffalo Trace Kosher Rye Recipe. And this one, MSRP typically was 40. This one I had to get for $49 and $50, and it's been as high as $99 and up in New Jersey. Both of these, and this is 94 proof, by the way. Both of these are Buffalo Trace products. Benchmark, maybe aged in the range of 4 years, roughly. It's their budget. It's their budget line, aged a little younger, and this is approximately aged 7 years, and this is a special recipe. It's basically, they're both mash bill number one, which is the low rye recipe. But I did a blind with this bottle, the Kosher, against the flagship Buffalo Trace, which is aged probably about 6 years or something in that range. And the Kosher beat it out, although I love the Buffalo Trace flagship. But what's interesting, I really haven't had a flagship Buffalo Trace bottle at my bar for quite some time now. And Buffalo Trace was really one of my favorite bottles and distilleries. And yet I think it's time that I probably, even though I do like higher proof whiskeys, I do want to pick that up just to have it. So I'm going to get myself a bottle. Problem is the prices are just ridiculous, but I think I can get one and maybe pay a couple of dollars more money than I want to, but nothing insane. So I'd like to see, even though you would think, well, Buffalo Trace got beat out by this, the flagship, and Benchmark technically would be beneath that. You never know. The thing with this that gives us just a little bit more than maybe what you would think from other benchmarks is that it's top floor, aged on the top floor. So even though it's aged, let's just say 4 years, in theory, maybe the aging process went a little faster with that, because when they're aged on the top floor, heat rises and the aging process increases, speeds up the process. And when I did taste the top floor, I didn't think it was terrible for 86 proof and $17 bottle. So let's have some fun as we finish these off. Put these in blind. I think I would expect this one to win. I think I would expect to know this, but you never know. Blinds never lie. Here we go. Okay, so I have the glasses all poured up, mixed up, labeled. I am not going to look at the glasses because prior to this, I noticed that I do believe there is a distinction in the colors, as I would expect, this being aged. I say 4 years as far as the Benchmark top floor, but there's no official age statement. Let's call it 3 to 4 years. I don't think it would be beyond that. This is not age stated, the Kosher, but I did see in Breaking Bourbon they had said 7 years. That does sound right. And the Buffalo Trace flagship, which this did beat out slightly. There's no age statement on that. I've heard anything from 6 to 8 years on that one. And that would make sense in the sense that the Eagle Rare is 10, and that is age stated 10 years. So basically, I'm not going to look at the color, but you would expect that this would be darker. It's got a few more years of age in the barrel, which would make sense, more oak influence. So let's, I am actually going to put my hands in front here so that I cannot see the color, because that'll give it away. So let's just randomly just start with this. Give this a nose. And this a nose. I think this one has definitely a richer aroma, and just getting much more out of the nose than this. This is more, a little more muted, but let's give this a taste. Cheers. Okay, let's give this a taste. Cheers. All right, I think I know already. This isn't even fair. All right. This one absolutely has to be the Buffalo Trace Kosher Rye Recipe, based on its definitely much more nose, much more aroma, much richer smell, and a lot more taste. Yeah, this is Kosher top floor. Okay, so now, maybe hard to see, but the way I'm looking at it, this one is a little darker than this. I see it from here. It's got, I would say at least 3 years more time in oak. It's got a richer flavor, So basically, even though, yeah, I wasn't an automatic, but this beat out the Buffalo Trace flagship just by a little bit. I think this was definitely a little bit more than a little. So then a couple of thoughts from there. First of all, let me just put these glasses down now. Um, I'm going to use this, hold this up, but in here is the Benchmark Top Floor. This is a $17 bottle, 86 proof. This is at a bare minimum the cheapest I ever got this. The first time I had this only twice. First time I got this was $40. This is 94 proof. This time it was $49. Call it $50. 94 proof. I've seen this upwards of $99 in New Jersey and even higher. I would expect this would be better, aged longer, few points higher proof, but there's just a lot more that goes into this, I think, than this. But they're both mash bill one. This is, this we'll call it a flagship even more so because you got the kosher. There's a couple of more processes with it, but this becomes this mash bill one in a few years. Aside from the kosher, flagship was a little more, kind of flagship would be right in the middle of it, much closer to this. But I'm a big fan of the Benchmarks because they're budget, and everyone who's watched my videos knows. Of the Benchmark line, my favorite is the full proof at 125 proof at a $23 bottle at most in New Jersey. That is one of my best bangs, best budget bangs for the buck. No, it's not Stag Junior, but for $23 at 125 proof, but I am planning on putting that up against the one I have in mind that I can get Stag. I just can't. I want to do that one against the 1792 full proof. That's going to be interesting. I'd like to do that in the near future and see how that goes. But for this one, the Kosher Rye recipe wins. But for $17, this is not bad. But it just wasn't a contest between these. We will finish these off, and more reviews to come. Take care. Cheers.